Hey, this is Teresa, and this is another episode of Fiercely Here Women in Business podcast. I'm super excited to have Sandy Weiner on today. You're going to really enjoy our conversation. So Sandy invited me to be on her podcast, and afterwards I'm like, I've got to have you on mine because you've got a very cool story, and I love your energy. So Sandy, I'm delighted that you're here, and I want you just to tell a little bit about what you do.
What I do. I do a lot of things. So I have two companies. One is Last First Date. And in Last First Date, I help women over 40 have the best relationships of their lives. I do it in many ways. And often a lot of the women come to me and they've either never been married or they've been in really bad relationships. So I help them kind of unlock the keys to finding the right partner, but it's also about being the right partner. And after doing that for like 10 years, 12 years, I realized that the part of that I love the most is helping women value themselves more. And so I started a new company about a year ago. It's called The Woman of Value, and that's the podcast that you were on, Therese. And so I have a podcast for my other show as well. It's called Last First Date Radio. And in this podcast and in this business, I help women step up, kind of like you do. I help them step into their power, and whatever it is, whether it's the corporate women who want to, break the glass ceiling and are afraid of speaking up or asking for raises. I help women expand their businesses. So if they're the solo practitioner, like I have a therapist who only made money hour to hour, dollars for hours, as most people do in service professionals. And I helped her to start an online course to help women who are at a crossroads in life and do things that are scary. And it's so exciting to watch women grow. And as you know, as you do. So that's really what I do, those two businesses. And I'm also a mom of 3 kids and a grandma of 3 and lots of other things.
That's really cool. Really nice. Yeah. I remember when we were talking at the podcast, I'm like, I love what you do because it's very similar to what I do, right? That owning women of value thing, that is so critical. The words I use, it's like fiercely here. Like when you are owning your value, I just call it, you can be fiercely here. And so what does it mean to paint the picture of a woman owning themselves, being fiercely present? How does that show up? Because I think some people don't even have a picture of it, so let's paint some pictures for our listeners.
So often, and I can share my own story later, but we often hide. We hide our power. We hide our skills. We hide behind someone else. I know that for most of my life, I hid behind people who were very visible because as much as I wanted to not be invisible, I also didn't want to be in the limelight. Like I didn't want to be, getting all the attention. I'm an introvert. I like being quieter. But I also realized that if we don't step up, and my motto is to show up, stand up, speak up.
Woo! So, hold on. Try that on, listeners. Show up, stand up, speak up. Woo! I can feel the power behind that.
Yeah.
That's a good one. It's really nice.
So that's the woman of value. She knows how to show up in her life, and she knows her values and her value. And she takes a stand by standing up. She takes a stand for what matters, and not just for herself, but for others. So it's a lot of leadership skills, where
Absolutely.
you take responsibility. You don't just cower when somebody is unkind to you. You have the words to speak up kindly. And speak up is the last part. So we often don't have the skill set to communicate our needs, our wants, when our feelings are hurt, and we don't know how to set boundaries with grace. We may set walls and we may yell at people, or we may fear and freeze and hide.
Right.
But it's really hard for most people. We weren't trained to know how to say the things that matter. So by showing up, standing up, and speaking up, we step into our value and we are fiercely here.
Especially, I think women over 40, we really were acculturated to not show up, not stand up, and faux show, not speak up, right?
Yes,
If you can't
exactly.
say anything nice, don't say anything at all. You know, that like,
Yep.
the 1950s, 60s narrative, right? And so why else? Like, I just go, look at what works swimming in terms of our role models and what we're given. But what do you think are other reasons why women can't own their value and can't stand up, speak up, show up? What do you think gets in the way?
I think it's definitely fears, but
Mm,
people pleasing is a way for
right.
most of us to get by in the world. You know, we have
Yeah.
learned
Yeah.
to accommodate. Most of us have grown up in homes where we were not valued for who we were,
Mhm,
but for
mhm.
what we did. And
Oof.
even a lot of times, not even that, right?
Right,
So, did
right,
you get good grades? Wait a minute. Did you get the best grade?
right. There's a C on this
Oh,
report card. Yeah,
or
right.
there's
Yeah.
an A minus and not an A plus. I mean, seriously, I didn't grow up in that house, but the but having good grades was important. And I
Absolutely.
remember hiding from my parents when I
Mhm.
got a bad report card. You know, I was so afraid of being
Yeah,
punished instead of being supported to do better
right.
and to be appreciated just for who you are. And so we spend a lifetime getting back to that beautiful, wonderful person we were when we were born, pure and innocent and full of moxie and joy. I mean, when I go to visit my grandchildren and
Oh,
they're
I see
ages
it.
5 and 2.5 and a newborn, but like looking at these little girls who are
Mm.
5 years old and 2.5, who have so much confidence, who aren't afraid of being funny and being silly and saying what they mean. I
Mhm,
mean,
mhm.
so clear about,
Mhm.
I don't like it, I do like it, I
Yeah,
want it, I
right,
don't want it. I
right.
mean, and then over the years we have, oh, that I want to be liked by my peers,
Exactly.
and I want to get I want to be accepted into that social circle. And then we get
Wait.
older, right? I want to be liked on Instagram. I want to fit in. And so we end up morphing and losing who we are to be able to be accepted by others. And so all that people pleasing, it's exhausting. It's
Absolutely.
not who we are. It's totally us constantly
Right.
accommodating others to fit in. And so the big learning, and what I do a lot with my clients, is to teach them how to behave differently in the world, how to really reclaim the parts of them that were lost.
That's so good. And if you're listening and watching this, I don't want you to have shame if you are this. We are all this, right?
Yes.
So what I wanted to share, Mona, and this is exactly what you're saying, but I wanted to take it a little bit deeper in a different place, is when there are wounds or when there's trauma or neglect or whatever, you develop a persona because you're getting your needs met. And so for those of us who were taught people pleasing or caretaking or being nice girls or accommodating, that actually works for a really long time and it works really well to get our needs met. The problem is that's not the truth of you, but it's like a persona we show up as, and we think that's us. And the healing is when you can let that fall away. And so, do you have any of those stories? Just Sandy, that you can like. Do you have one of those when you like broke out and said, "Oh hell no, I'm not doing this anymore"? Because that is what has to happen. Like that whole persona. I mean, I used to be I was a therapist. My God, talk about people pleasing and caretaking. I was paid for it, so I guess I was smart. But it was so much of who my identity was, to break free of that and go, what do I want? Wait, I don't even know. Shit, I haven't focused ever on that.
Mhm.
So I would love to hear your story of how you broke out of those patterns.
Yeah, and thank you for that clarification, because we do have amazing survival skills,
Hmm. Hmm.
and surviving is great, but it's
Hmm.
not thriving. And
Right,
so to
right.
thrive, we need to take off all those layers. We need to
Yeah.
really find who we are, but we first need to get stronger inside. And
Hmm.
that's the part that I
Hmm.
was missing.
Right.
So in my TED Talk, I talk about being a Tootsie Pop. And so I lived my whole life as a Tootsie Pop. And so I'll tell you that
Yeah,
story
yeah.
in a
That's
nutshell. And you can link to the TED Talk in the show notes if you can, because
Mhm.
um, I realized, actually, I'd gone on a date with a guy after my divorce, and he said, I'm just like a Tootsie Pop. I'm tough on the outside and I'm soft and mushy on the inside. And I thought to myself, that's what we love in a man. We love these tough guys who
Right,
really have a
right.
soft heart.
Yeah.
And then I had this epiphany that I was the Tootsie Pop and it wasn't a good thing. And the reason why is that I had developed all these really tough layers over my heart as I went through life and learned the wrong lessons through heartbreak. Just you don't
Yeah.
trust men, and there are
Right.
no good men, and there are no good relationships, and you just have to settle, and all these terrible things that I
Yeah.
concluded because
Yeah.
I didn't know better.
Right. Sure.
And so my inside was mushy like a Tootsie Roll. And as I learned how to be stronger, I became stronger on the inside. So I equate it to a Heath bar, which is, and some people have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's like a strong toffee center and a soft chocolate outside. So when you can be strong, you can be soft. When you're strong inside, you can be soft outside. You don't have to have that tough exterior and that bitterness, which a lot of people come to the world with. So a little about my story is I really struggled in relationships most of my life. I just didn't know how to do it, right? And so I had met a man. I was living in New York City, and I met a man who I thought was the love of my life, and we just connected on so many levels. And he had a beautiful heart and soul, and he sang and played guitar, and we stayed up all night
Sounds
singing.
fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were getting together a lot, but it was platonic. He hadn't made a move. And then he invited me over for dinner and to his apartment, and he was going to cook like a 4-course meal. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after dinner, I had a headache, and he said, "Oh, I'll give you a massage. Come into my bedroom." I'm thinking, okay, tonight's the night.
Seduction.
And
Yeah.
nothing happened after the massage. It was like this whole build up, and I'm thinking, okay, he needs some encouragement.
Yeah.
So I get up off the bed and I give him a hug, which I had never done before.
Okay.
And he recoiled, and I felt so mortified. And I'm thinking, like, okay, I got it wrong again. Like,
This is weird mixed
why?
messages, though, for
Yeah,
sure.
it was. But I didn't really understand it. I didn't know how to speak about it. And so I kind of slunk away. I walked home. He wouldn't even walk me home. I lived a few blocks from him, and I was like mortified, really embarrassed,
Yeah.
mortified.
Yeah.
And what I did was I shut my heart down after that. I said, here's a guy who I thought was it. He seemed like husband material, like he had every
Yeah.
quality,
Yeah.
and he rejected me. What I didn't know is that I found this out much later was he had been seeing somebody the whole time. He was engaged within a few months after that. So he was never available. But I didn't know because I didn't know how to talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting engaged within maybe 6-8 months because I just thought, okay, I can't really trust my heart, so I have to just trust my head. And I chose a man totally like check, check, but my heart was shut. My heart was really shut. I liked him. I didn't love him. And the foundation of our relationship was weak. And I still stayed 23 years and tried to make it work. I had 4 kids with him, and there was crisis after crisis, and he just completely fell apart, and I became tougher and stronger, as most women do. And
Yeah.
and at the end, I met another man who kind of woke me up out of my stupor. And because of him, he was not going to be somebody I was going to have an affair with, but he was somebody who woke me up to the possibility of a relationship with somebody who actually saw me.
Yeah.
But I hadn't allowed myself to be seen. So when I got divorced, so that gave me the courage to ask for a divorce. And then I went to coaching school, and in coaching school, I started to learn how to identify values, how to really know who I was at my core, which I never knew before.
Right.
And one of the things, and you were just saying something before about how, you as a therapist, you wanted to give and be this codependent person.
Yeah. Right.
And I had this tendency to give too much, to do too much, and to be drained. And I had a supervisor who, during my certification process, said, "You're working too hard." And he gave me this great metaphor that I still remember.
Yeah.
He said, as a coach, you're like, you have this field of people working out in the field,
Mhm.
and you're on the rocking chair sipping lemonade, and you're helping them, you're guiding them, but you're not out there doing the work. And I used to be out there doing the work.
Yeah.
And so I see it now, like my word for 2020 is energy, because
Woo.
I want to preserve the energy that I have and really be very intentional about who I give it to. And this is what I teach and what I practice.
That is so cool. What a great story. What a great, I'm still in the mind fuck of the guy that was like playing you. I'm still like, the bastard. I'm going to go get him. But anywho.
He's a nice guy. Actually, I have a great follow-up story to him. So
Right.
what happened, well, which was also really horrible for me, was that my ex-husband ended up sitting next to this guy in synagogue and loved him. And he was like, let's have them over. And I'm like,
Whoa.
no, I
Oh
can't
my
have them over.
God.
Anyway, so we started having them over as friends. And I was really hard for me. But
Yeah. Yeah.
years later, his wife said to me that she had asked him why he never dated me. Like she was
There was
like
an energy.
curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he would tell her about me. And he said that I was harsh. I had a harsh exterior.
Oh,
So
that's
he got that Tootsie
interesting.
Pop. The
Tootsie
other
Pop.
thing that was fascinating was that he wouldn't have married her if she wouldn't have opened her mouth. So she had a lot more of the
Mm.
speak up than I did.
Mhm.
They met at a wedding. They were sitting next to each other at a mutual friend's wedding, and he said to her, "It was great meeting you." He took her back in the taxi to her hotel.
Mhm.
He goes, "If you're ever in New York again, look me up."
Mhm.
And she's like, "Look me up? He's a great guy. I want to date him." And she went back to the friends
Ah,
who introduced her and said, "I want to date this guy.
so
He's marriage material." So that's the difference between
that's the
who I
difference.
was and who she was.
Right. So two
So
two parts of the story is women settle very often, right? And your
yes,
story was a lot of, your marriage was a lot of
settling.
settling. We all do, right? And there's no shame. I really want to make sure if you're hearing this, guys,
Mm,
that you don't go, oh God, it was so bad. Oh, that, it just is because you didn't know better. But
right.
then you get awakened, right? Then you get,
Yes.
and part of the awakening is, I want that. Like the,
Yeah.
the woman, she got him, but she was able to go after it. And so Sandy, let's talk about what holds women back from that. It's almost a little aggressive, like, oh, I'll be having you, or
I'll have a
like
side order
that's
of that, right?
that is what, in life, business, whatever it is. Like, what's the key to just bring more of that? And it's not even male energy, but it's our potency of like, that's mine, as opposed to, well, I don't know, maybe if it happens. Are you following me with that?
Yeah, yeah,
Let's spend
yeah.
some time there because I think that's a really helpful tool for women.
Well, it's partially it's knowing your value, and the more
Mhm.
the more you get out of your comfort zone and ask for what you want and go. I mean, when I did my TED Talk, I had never been on a stage. I was petrified to speak in public, but I had a mission and I had
Yeah.
something to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah.
And somebody reached out to me, and it was an opportunity that I could have easily said no to. I
Right.
could have said,
Right.
"No, I am not ready. I can't speak.
Mhm.
I need more time," but
Yeah,
it
that's
wouldn't have
so
happened. And
right.
so I got support. And that's important, to get the support we all need to build up who we are. I've had amazing coaches and people who have supported me.
Yeah.
And we can't see what we can't see.
Right.
So other people can see our greatness before we can.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's an important piece of it. And the other is just every time you do something scary, you get stronger. You realize you didn't die. It doesn't always work out,
Right.
but
Right.
asking for people to be a podcast guest,
Yeah.
asking to appear somewhere, to speak on a stage, to do something that scares the hell out of you. That is how we start to build more confidence and
That's
to
awesome.
and to give bigger asks.
That's really
And
awesome.
so I think that has a lot to do with it, and to stop overthinking and thinking I'm not enough,
Go.
because what
Let's
makes
go.
somebody else more enough than you?
Mhm. Well, I think like when we think of the desire, so I like what you said is there was an opportunity in front of me, and my head is going, holy shit, and all the excuses, but your soul or your whatever it was just said, okay, yes, right? You went for it, and then
Right.
you got the support. When I started dating my current boyfriend, we were in a little intimate moment, and I just I'm like, I want you now, and he's like, nobody ever did that. And
That's sexy.
that's kind of, but that he still will talk about it. Like, I've never had any, I mean, I was aggressive, but and why not? Right? We're of the age. I'm like, we earned this shit. We've been through a lot of hell. We've raised kids, or we've raised adult men, or we've raised our kids. Why not go for the thing that you would want? So there was somewhere in you a desire to get your message out. And the form of it showed up as a TED Talk, but you said yes to, I've got to speak, like, oh my God, right? And so that's what I would say is, how can you tune into the desire and then say yes to it? And it doesn't matter how scary it is or how weird you feel going, I want you now, right? Like, because good things can come out of it. So
Yeah, I
I
love
just think
that.
it's fun. Yeah. Oh, he
And
did too.
people want to be desired.
They
And so
do.
you had to know your desire in order to express
Exactly.
your desires. So the more we know ourselves
Yeah.
and the more we know our mission, our why, what motivates us. So
Yes.
when your why is bigger than your fear, and that's
Oh,
what happened
that
to
is
me in
so
the TED
good.
Talk.
So good.
That's really what I always weigh. Like,
Yeah.
is my why so important that I'm going to overcome this fear and just push through it?
Okay. I just want to, we're just going to slow that train down.
Mhm.
How do you get in touch with your why? Because because what's going to happen is you're going to minimize your why, right? Oh, it's no big deal, it's a stupid, I can't have it. That's the voice of shame and all the ancestors and all the shit that you lived through telling you it's not possible. And so how do you, like, just go, oh, that's it, and that's worthy of me, and I'm worthy of it? So do you have any practices or any tips around that one?
Yeah, a lot of them. I mean, when I work with a client and help them find their why, we talk about pivotal moments in
Yeah.
life. So when you look at those pivotal moments, those transitional moments, and see, who did you become in those moments? And
Mm.
then you start to identify, those are your core values. Those are really who you are in a crisis or in times of great joy. And you start to put the pieces together. Maybe think about 5 of those kinds of places in your life and who you became in each one. So
Right.
you have certain strengths and you have certain values. And the other thing is, I have, what I give out to my clients is an operating manual, and
Mm.
I created this manual that would be something you would give to other people to know you.
Great.
So
That's
it's,
cool.
who are you? What are your physical needs? Like, without those things, how many hours of sleep do you need? How many,
Mhm.
what do you need to
Yeah.
live
Th-
well?
those are
And
great
we
questions.
often
We don't think about those things.
we
Those are
don't,
great. Yeah.
right? So if you're not eating well and you're not sleeping, like, I had a client who got into a relationship. She stopped meditating. She stopped her morning routine. She stopped all the
Yeah.
important things.
Right.
Now she's completely out of alignment. So if you're saying, well, being with you is more important than my meditation, but no, it's not. And eating
Uh-huh.
crappy food is making me feel like crap.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna be really grumpy, and that's not
Yeah.
good.
Right.
So, and I have another client who just traveled, and she came back and said, I needed more quiet, private time.
Mm.
That's one of the questions on the manual, is like, do
Mhm.
you need to recharge in quiet? If you need
Mm.
that, you have to claim that. And so these are all things that we don't give up anymore. We stop saying,
Right.
okay, I can be that pretzel that can morph into
Ugh,
anything. You can't be,
you got
because if
nothing
you're
at the
going
end
to
of the day.
function, no. Another thing that is really helpful is to go through your day and ask yourself, does this feed me or drain me? And I just find that, like, so many things, so many decisions we make
Mhm.
drain you. And if you
Mhm.
can't, like, preempt those decisions and just say, you know what, that doesn't work for me. Can I tell you what works better? So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a process, and I'm sort of minimizing it and telling you a
Yeah.
lot of things
No,
at
no,
one
no,
time,
no, but
but
you gave a
it
lot.
is,
You gave a
it's
lot.
definitely a process. And it's, working with a coach or a
Mhm.
therapist really
Mhm.
helps, because then you can start to know, what are your lines in the sand? What do you absolutely need to thrive
Right.
in this world?
I also hear you didn't use this word, but you literally are forging a new identity for yourself. Those questions you asked, it's like, who am I? What was I in those? Because I think most people don't know. Most people do not examine, like you and I probably examine ourselves, like every frame, right? And that's the work. It's just like, oh wow, I was kind of courageous there. Oh, that felt awesome. I want more of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And you're
For,
tuned in.
for me, like with the sexy boyfriend story, I decided I've had enough suffering. I desire to feel pleasure. I desire to feel. And so it's also what's the feeling you want to go for, and or what gives me energy. For me, it's joy. Like, I am following joy. Am I going to get joy here, or is it going to suck? Okay, I'm choosing joy, right? So just those are, Sandy gave us great tips. And so I want you to think about, out of all the things you just told us, is there one or two things that they could do? Because, this could be really overwhelming if you're listening going, crap, but there's so many golden nuggets in your conversation with me today. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I was just thinking about what you just said, and when I met that guy at the end of my marriage who woke me up, it was that wake up call of, I will not suppress my own joy again.
Oof.
And that was big. That was like, whoa, you were willing to live your life squashed down for so long. And like, there was a part of me that was just like, get out, and all the fears of like, you're making a big change. You have children, you have all these people who, you may screw up their lives. But the truth is that, again, if you're living in alignment and like how to not control, but how to regulate your own emotions and how to deal with all this change, then you can be the guide to other people. And I think that, so many of our fears are completely unfounded. It's so important to take a stand for your truth and stop living some version of somebody else's.
I love that. So just a question to yourself, if you're listening right now, what am I suppressing? What am I accepting or settling for? And what would I prefer instead? And, you don't have to, we both went through divorces with young kids. If you had to think 10 years down the road, you never would have gone anywhere. So it's like just the next step, the next step, the next step. Obviously you have to have plans, right? But you just have to do okay, I can do that piece of it, and I can do that piece of it, and I can do that piece of it, right? So sometimes it's literally stepping out in faith, trusting that this energy that is propelling me is going to take care of me and support me, right?
Yeah. We don't need the whole staircase, just one step at a time.
There we go.
Yeah.
So Sandy, this has been so much fun. You're such a delight. And I'm thinking, if I was listening to this, I'd say, I want to know more about this woman. So where can they find you? And then do you have anything? I think you're gonna offer something so my folks can benefit from your wisdom as well.
Yeah, thank you. So lastfirstdate.com if you're looking for better relationships. And lots of good information there. I've got like 1,000 blog posts and my podcast and all kinds of good stuff. And join my free Facebook group, which is called Your Last First Date. And so if you're in a relationship or you're single and over 40, it's a really positive, supportive environment for having healthier relationships with yourself and others. And my other website, thewomanofvalue.com. There is a free guide that I would love to offer you. Well, both sites have something free, but this one, it's called The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Woman of Value. And it's got great tips to do everything we talked about today and the steps to get there. So I would love to invite people to get that free guide. And if you go on thewomanofvalue.com, there's a button at the very top. You can just push that button and you're there.
Well, you are just a wealth of information. So thank you. You just shared so much. I really, really appreciate that. So is there like one last tip? You had final seconds on the stage to share with these people. So is there anything you want to just impart, any little nuggets of wisdom?
Show up, stand up, and speak up.
Best way to end it. Yeah. All right. Well, this is fabulous. I just thank you for your energy. Thank you for your contribution. My own journey has been a lot with my own relationships, being in a very good relationship now. And I can understand the connection with relationships and owning your value and being a woman of value. And it translates to every freaking area of your life. So I so love that you're a stand for both of these. That's on behalf of women everywhere. It is so needed, because we should not settle. We should not suffer. We should not be able to speak up. And so I love the warriors in the work, and you're one of them, sister. So thank you so much for being here, Sandy.
Thank you.
All right. Blessings. And keep listening to this show. And I would love if you want to put in the show note or in the comment section below, what did you get out of this? What was your biggest takeaway? What did Sandy rock your world with? And if you have any things you're going to do as a result of the new knowledge, peace and blessings. Talk to you later. Bye.